What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PSVR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, I can live without you, but without you I'll be miserable at that. It's Desra.
Hello. Sitting across from me, of course, is Brian Paul.
No song?
No, just basking in the truth of that.
I put all this love and energy into your introduction.
And I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
And Brian Paul.
Much better.
Okay.
And every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we choose a game, an old PlayStation VR game, something out of the back catalog.
Pick it up, dust it off.
Right, something that we haven't talked about in like forever.
I know.
And then we see if it's been updated. We see if it's been given any love since the last time.
Mm-hmm.
We all checked it out and we played the crap out of it and tell you you should or should not be playing or watching. It's the wrong show. So Des, what ancient PSVR game did we choose this week?
We're talking about Moss.
That's not very ancient at all.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the demo came out a while ago.
Okay.
So if you think of this as an update of the demo, I mean, sure.
Okay, next week we're going to do Star Child.
But yeah, this is, we're definitely, we break format every once in a while for something that we're really excited about, and this is absolutely that. In fact, I wanted to do this episode like 2 weeks ago.
Except I hadn't really played Moss at all 2 weeks ago, so I had to get a little bit caught up. And I got to say, I'm really glad we're doing this episode because, like, games like we need to do an episode of Apex Construct soon so that I can beat that game.
Yeah.
Because, now that we're sharing responsibilities, it means I don't have to do shit around here.
Oh no, that's not true at all.
But finishing games is something that doesn't happen nearly as often.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I like to be well educated on my PlayStation VR games.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a conversation we've had before about, hey, if I like this game, you probably had that figured out in the first 20 minutes or so.
Probably true.
And if you don't like it, those are games I really want to spend a lot of time on to make sure I'm giving it every possible chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that's an upcoming episode.
So let's talk about Moss.
Yeah. So on its face, well, first of all, it's by Polyarc, which Polyarc. It's actually a bunch of folks from Bungie.
Oh.
Yeah, so the folks who worked on Bungie, actually they worked on things, little titles like Destiny. I don't know if you may have heard that.
That's not a VR game, right?
No, it's not.
I don't really care.
But they split from Bungie in 2015, started their own development company, and and specifically geared at VR. This is their first title. I want to repeat that. This is their first title that they've released. That's going to be important later.
Awesome. And I mean, it couldn't get any more similar to Destiny, like this game.
Oh yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah,
loot boxes, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of shooting, lots of first-person destruction.
Yeah,
tons of motion sickness.
No, it's a third-person. Let's call it platformer / puzzle adventure.
It's like Marvel's.
The stab is through your throat. That is no.
I was playing today and I was like, how can Des not like Marvels and love this? This all I thought about all day long. I was like, this is such a good game. It reminds me of that other awesome PlayStation VR game, Marvels.
I'd like to welcome you to Dez's last show on the channel. It's been fun, folks.
No, that episode will be Why We Love Marvels. When I actually make you play through all of it.
No, yeah, and man, there's things to talk about there.
Such a beautiful game. Can we just start with like the bare minimum here?
Exactly.
Marvels is beautiful. No, Moss really is a beautiful game. Like stunningly so.
Yeah, and then this is something I'm going to come back to again and again. PSVR developers, you are on notice. Like, we've heard so much from people saying that, the graphic quality isn't so great, the processing isn't there, and blah, blah, blah. No, there are no excuses anymore.
Yeah.
We know how good a game can look in VR.
It doesn't have to be blurry. Like, this game is super sharp.
Yep.
And it's just super detailed. All the texture resolutions are really high res. And just my favorite thing is, so I started playing today.
Okay.
And I was excited to play.
Yeah.
Because every other game I've been playing lately has been like move controlled. And I have to stand in the middle of my living room and I have to be like, swinging things or shooting things and like, moving my whole body around, trying not to get killed by bullet hell bullets and stuff. And I don't know. And so I was like super excited to like sit down, kick back, DualShock 4, right?
Yep.
And just like lay back on the couch and I had some popcorn next to me.
Okay.
I was legit like eating popcorn as I was playing. Like, this is going to be great. This is like a nice casual 2D platformer. Nope.
Nope.
Nope. I didn't get to just sit there.
Well, I mean, I suppose you could just sit there, but you'd be missing out on so much.
You'd be missing out on so much,
Yep.
and including some of the things you need to know. Like I found myself, maybe not out of necessity, but certainly out of curiosity, constantly like leaning in and like looking, and like me and Moscow, like me and Quill, I do that constantly.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people do. Main character's named Quill, not Moss. And so like you get real like chummy with her and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you ever sneak up behind her?
Yes.
It's
So fun.
adorable. She knows that you're there.
Yeah. Well, unless you surprise her. Did you surprise her?
That's what I mean.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So we that's one thing kind of brings before we get onto the characters, because the character, that's a whole other
Yeah,
topic.
I'm kind of jumping around on accident. I was like so enthralled with my experience today.
Yeah. There's going to be people who are listening to this right now, and I know you're out there because you were talking to me on my stream, and I've heard your voices on Twitter.
You're in the comments. We know you.
Yeah. Who are you going to say, well, this is just a platformer, and I'm sure it looks great, but I'm not going to waste my money on just a third-person platformer. The videos do not do this justice.
No.
The sense of scale, like, it makes it feel like you are a human-sized person inside a mouse-sized world.
Yeah.
And it literally to that. So like you're looking at this, this one scene, there's a scenery, let's say you're in one of the castle rooms, and you can get up and look around corners and look under staircases and just bend down and look at, away from the microphone, the tiny little books that actually have writing on the covers.
It's pretty crazy.
And the thing is, the sense of scale is so amazing because, well, if we go to one of the earlier levels where you're sort of outside, you've got Quill, her little, thing she's got to walk through and all that. And then if you look up, oh, there's deer.
Yeah.
Brazing. And at one point, Quill kind of makes a noise and the deer sort of looks up at you. And suddenly, like, the detail of the two different scales just make this, it's one of the most immersive experiences you're going to have in VR if you define immersive as feeling like you're in a real place.
Yeah, the levels themselves, like everything in the foreground, almost has like a diorama type feel to it.
Yeah.
It always feels like you're peeking into someone's world. It reminds me quite a bit of like how we felt about Alamet when we first saw that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you peek into this person's world, and but yeah, the scope that the whole world gives you is just is mind-boggling, because it looks like they've crafted a level inside our real world.
Yes.
And that's mind-boggling.
Yep. And we should talk about the gameplay a little bit before we move on, I guess.
Sure.
So you control Quill with pretty typical, left analog thumbstick, jump button, attack or activate button. But also you as the reader, you interact with the world. You get this kind of glowing orb whose name escapes me, but that's kind of your way to interact with the world. Yeah. And you control that by moving your DualShock controller. So you're actually controlling her and moving that object around at the same time.
And very important side note,
yes.
I'm a person that likes to ignore recommendations. I'm a person that likes to ignore the rules. And when you start this game up, Polyarch casually mentions to you, hey, you know how every single other game you've been playing, you have the camera like way up above your head?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Like in fact, put it below your TV. And so today was for the first time in probably a year, I moved my PlayStation camera.
Okay.
And I put it exactly where they told me to.
Yeah.
And boy, does it work a whole lot better.
Yeah, I kind of did halfway. I actually moved a little further forward and then just like aimed the lenses down.
Sure.
And that seemed to work pretty well too. You do need, because remember, you're looking at a mouse-sized world and all that, so most of the action is happening down near the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
So you really want to have that a little lower than normal.
Yeah. If you're kicking back on a couch like I was doing initially, it's not going to work out so well, because it's one of those games where like you're kicking back and like you want to pick something up, and then you're suddenly slamming the DualShock into your lap over and over,
right,
and then pushing it into your couch, and like, this just isn't working.
Yeah.
So I found myself like sitting on the edge of my couch to have more of a wide range of movement.
Yeah. This is not to say that you can't sit down and play this game.
Of course,
but
you can.
You do need to make sure that you've got a little more space than you might think you need. You're not just going to sit on your couch with a controller in your lap doing nothing. And it gets to the point where there's with the things you can control. Well, first of all, you can pet Quill.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's we're tracking this into it again, but her animations and her character are so strongly felt. This is one of the most real characters I've felt in a video game, period.
Yeah.
You know, you solve a puzzle and she goes to give you a high five and you high five her and it actually feels like meaningful. It's some of the most meaningful high fives I've ever given or received have come from this game, which is a ridiculous sentence, I know. But it's just like, oh my God, yeah, high five. We earned that. So you can, interact with Quill. You can also, pretty much any enemy, you can just sort of grab and freeze them in place momentarily. It doesn't do any damage to them, but this is important because there are characters that you can move to switches to activate things and whatnot. And you can also heal Quill. As well, which is important because she's
fragile,
she's very fragile. She cannot take many hits.
And you can. There are certain things you can do when you freeze those enemies as well. There are certainly ones that can fire, and using the I believe right analog stick.
Yes,
you can fire away, and that definitely plays into the puzzle aspect. I didn't realize you could do this, that you could fire using enemies. I don't know if the game tells you at some point or not, but I was watching your live stream and you got to a part that I was stuck in and you start firing as the enemy and I was like, well, that makes everything easier. Yeah,
one thing that does happen, they do very well, Quill is very communicative with you. In fact, she actually, and this is one of my Des nuggets for today, she communicates in American Sign Language. And this was something that Rick Lico, or Lico, L-I-C-O, he was hey Rick, amazing job. He was an animator, and when he was still in development, he just wanted to kind of like throw an idea out there. And he was like, well, Quill doesn't talk. Maybe we can use sign language. And he just made a quick animation of her saying, what was it? Hey, how are you? And then signing her name, Quill. He had a couple hundred followers on Twitter. He figured, it might be, maybe get a few responses, see what my friends think. In 2 days, he got 26,000 likes.
Wow.
The ASL community exploded for this, and they just, okay, this is definitely a part. Now, does this mean you need to know sign language? No, it doesn't, because, again, she's so expressive, and these people are so brilliant with what they've done. You can understand what she's doing anyways, but if you do understand ASL, it's fantastic. It definitely adds another dimension, which is a long way of saying, if you get stuck, she'll kind of point things out to you or demonstrate. I don't want to give anything away, but she'll actually... you find out how to fire those, how to control the guys who fire.
Okay. I didn't find out correctly because I just watched your live stream. I was like, oh, he did it, I'm going to do it too. I'm not the most attentive person in the world,
but you find yourself in the situation of actually controlling where she's going there and then moving and actually controlling the enemy and firing at the same time and trying to time it so that, no spoilers, but you've got to shoot something relatively near Quill and jump at the same time, and I guess it's more difficult than you may think.
and on that note, for a majority of this game, I would call it a puzzle game.
Yes.
And it's funny because it reminds me so much of Uncharted, but it's like Uncharted the puzzle game. I don't know why. It's probably because of like all the lush green scenery.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And just how well everything animates and feels alive. Uncharted's always been that game where it's just like, the Naughty Dog has just been amazing at creating like a real sense of place. In Moss, it's very similar. In Uncharted, there's anything that's yellow you can climb on.
Oh yeah.
And anything in Moss that has like scratch
marks,
that's where you can climb. The animation is on par with Naughty Dog's best, and the environments, like I said, are very similar. And if you don't think of this as like a third person, which Uncharted already is, but a static camera puzzle Uncharted game, then I'd be surprised if you also didn't feel that.
That's where I disagree. It's not a static camera. You're the camera, and you can go wherever you want.
This is true.
Yeah. And actually, this is another little. This isn't advertised anywhere in the game, but I think it's important. There's a lot of parallels I draw between this and Bound, which we talked about a while ago, in that these are two of the most beautiful gaming experiences I've ever had for very different reasons. Bound is very abstract, geometric shapes, constantly everything moving. Its beauty is in its surreality. This is exactly the opposite. Everything is grounded and amazing and beautiful. But Bound has a photo mode. Moss has let's call it a hidden photo mode. It's not quite as detailed as Bound's, but what you can do is you hit pause, or the start button, menu comes up. If you click down on the right analog stick, or R3, the menu goes away, and you have the entire 3D panorama paused for you. So you can move around and then use the social button to take pictures however you want.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I don't know what brought me off on that tangent, but there you go.
So I should probably explain. Des is absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Your head's the camera as it tends to be in VR. But this is there is no movement. When you're presented with a scene,
right? This is
here. It is your static scene. Mm-hmm. Like it's not going to rotate. You're not going to follow the characters.
Yep.
There's no you as the camera are still kind of stuck in one spot, even if you can move around. It's tough to say, but again, just like Alamet should give you a good idea.
I think that's actually, but it sounds like a downside, but I think that's actually helps to build the grounding, because the entire framing device of the game is that it's a storybook.
Yeah.
It starts out with you in a library. The very first thing you see when you fire up this game is you're inside a library and you're opening up the Book of Moss. And the actual levels you play are interspersed with levels where there's a book and you actually turn the pages of the book. And the narrator, who's not just a narrator, she's reading you the story like you were a little kid, and she's reading it too. She's doing her own voices for all the characters, and you're gonna the cynical, the cynical dead part of Des, who echoes a lot of you folks will say this game is sounding worse and worse, but it really gives you the sense of wonder, so that when you have that narration. And then when you go from one level to the next like that, you hear the sound of pages turning.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, you're doing this level. It's, and here's what happened now. And here's what happened next. Yeah.
It took me a little while to get over it, honestly. I would have easily pegged that as a negative at the beginning. And I think I did when I first played the demo.
Okay.
I was like, this isn't enough. Like I want... If I'm going to be immersed in this world, then I want to follow Quill. I need a third-person camera, over-the-shoulder action. I want to go from one scene to the next fluidly. Mm-hmm. But you're absolutely right. When you hear that page turning, it reminds you, hey, it's like this is a story that we're being told.
Right. And also the camera floating over the character's shoulder like that makes it feel like, oh, you're that character.
Yeah.
And this game does exactly the opposite.
Right.
You aren't Quill. Like, Quill is your teammate, working with you to solve things. And yes, technically you're controlling Quill, but it really feels like she is there helping you along as much as you're helping her.
Yep.
And the separation between you two, I still don't know how they pulled out that trick, but again, I've said it before, she feels like the most fully fleshed out character I've seen in gaming ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to say ever, but I will say it feels really good. Like anytime you save Quill, anytime you get through,
anytime you kill Quill,
yeah, poor little mousey.
Yeah.
There's definitely this camaraderie, and that's probably the best word I can think to use. So I don't know. It's one of the strikes that people have given to this game. I know the very first day when we all got our hands on it,
yep.
And the reviews were coming out left and right. The first thing everybody said was, it's only 2 hours long. It's only 3 hours long.
Yeah.
We've been waiting so long for this game. We've been playing demos. We've been reading previews. We've been watching videos and watching trailers. And here it is, finally, $30, and it's on the short side.
Yeah. That's a problem. And I'm not going to say it's not. It's about, I'd say, average 3 hours, maybe a little more if you want to get all there's scrolls hidden in each level.
The scrolls,
not in each level, which is important.
The scrolls are, I enjoy the scrolls because the scrolls aren't terribly hard to find for the most part.
Yeah.
They're just terribly hard to get. So you as the reader, you have this pretty awesome view of the level, something that Quill wouldn't be able to see on her own. And you go, oh, right here on top of this pillar, like way off over here to the side where you wouldn't normally be looking. There it is. As long as you just look around, and sometimes it takes a little extra second.
Yeah,
they're not. I'm sure there are ones I haven't found, like just by looking around.
There's one. I've got 29 and 30.
But then you have to start backtracking. You have to say, well, it's over here, and to get to this platform, I have to be on this platform. Now, how to get to that platform? Okay, I have to jump over here, and I cross this thing over here. And you have to like track all the way back to Quill and go, all right, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
And it's totally separate from the task at hand. It's like, okay, here's like this separate little thing I've decided to do for the next 5 minutes. Is to try to get this scroll.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend doing the playthrough once and then doing another playthrough for scrolls.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are just going to sit on the couch and just kind of passively play the game, you're not going to see most of them. Most of them, you know, there's a few that, like Brian said, are obvious, but most of them you have to get up and actually look around to find, because they're just kind of tucked behind a wall that's not very well hidden if you're, you know, walking around the room. But if you're just sitting there on your couch passively, yeah, you'll never see it.
So and that's kind of the cool thing, is that, like, I mean, it's probably going to take you about around 2.5 hours to just go through the game itself.
Yeah.
I'm not as good of a puzzle solver as most people, I think, because I definitely spent far more time than that. You know, I think if a lot of people have said that the puzzles aren't very difficult, I'm not that person.
Yeah. I'll say it's not that they're not difficult. I think the problem is there's only one solution.
Okay.
It's not, you know, there's we just played I just did a live stream of
I Expect You to
Die.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was trying to play. And one of the great parts of that game is there are so many different ways to solve the problem. In this, unless I'm missing something, there's pretty much the way the designers wanted you to solve this.
Right.
And if you can click into that, then it's just a matter of executing it. There's not too much of just experimenting and like, oh, you know. So I'd say it's not that they're not difficult. It's just there aren't a lot of different solutions for each particular puzzle.
And for me, for finding the exact solution that Polyarc is looking for me to find, for me that's a lot of trial and error. Being like, I don't know, like I'm just gonna keep doing different things until the right thing happens,
right?
Instead of using logic and being like, well, this moves this and this moves this, and I need to move this first and that first and then that second, because that's not, my brain doesn't work that way. I go, I'm just gonna keep pushing buttons until something good happens. Buttons aren't toys.
Buttons are always toys. I'd say the other thing that, you know, I've heard this as a criticism, and I can see where people are coming from, but the combat isn't particularly deep.
Nope.
You know, but I don't think that's what this game is for. I think Quill is a character, and this is a game. It's like, yeah, she'll fight if she has to, but that's not really the number one way she wants to approach her problem. Yeah. And so it's, you know, it looks great, but yeah, it's not particularly, there aren't combos or anything like that. There's, you know, not multiple weapons you're going to get to unlock, but I don't think the game is about that, so I'm willing to let that slide.
Yeah, I found some issues with combat. I didn't particularly enjoy it, especially when there were parts where I was struggling with and I was dying over and over.
Yeah.
And obviously there is a certain level of strategy, as you know, as you the player, you the reader, you know, if one of them's causing you trouble, then grab onto him and get Quill to take that dude down or whatever. Like, but again, it was a little bit of trial and error for me, and it was not the greatest combat, but again, it's one of those things that, just like the puzzle solving, as soon as you do it well and you finish, it's like Quill looks up at you and smiles, and she's so happy, and you suddenly like, you know, I'm kind of happy about this too.
Yeah,
and it was worth the struggle.
Yeah. So I mean, those are some negatives, but my God, the positives far outshine it. Like I would gladly play this for 3 hours than, you know, 100 hours of some of the garbage we've been getting lately.
Well, I mean, I just reviewed The American Dream, and that was 3 hours long.
Okay.
And it was $20.
Okay.
Okay. And
that was 3 hours long. Oh.
Yeah, and it was and I'll tell you that there was probably like half of the time I was sitting there listening to a narrator talk, and sometimes he was funny, most of the time he wasn't. And so like and when I was done, I didn't really have a desire to go back and play it again or go find like the hidden targets, you know. So here we are, like looking at two games that are, you know, similar in length, except one just above and beyond, has the production values, has, you know, just that level of quality, that level of polish, level of storytelling, the and just in that desire to go back into the world and like be part of that story again when you're all done. You know, maybe to just do it for fun, or do it to, you know, get all the scrolls and complete it.
I went back the other day to play, not to go for scrolls, not to play it again, just because I wanted to go and see some of the levels again. And see, like, I mean, it's so immersive that there are rooms when you're in, like I was showing Amanda, like, okay, look at this, how great this is, and I stood up to change my perspective, and I ducked so I wouldn't hit the ceiling. Again, no ceiling there. You know, it's any game that is so beautiful you just want to sit and not even play, just sit and be in. Yeah, and here's the thing, like I said it before, I really want to hit this again though. Developers, you guys are on notice. Okay, this is not Bethesda with millions of dollars and a pre-made game that they can cram into a PSVR thing so you can say, oh yeah, they have all those millions of dollars. Of course they made a beautiful game. These guys are indies. Yeah, they have a pedigree, but they're an indie company. So it's not the money. It's there's something else, you know? I don't know, maybe it's talent, maybe it's just drive and passion, but you know, I don't think we can accept garbage anymore.
I mean, this is probably a discussion for an entire other show.
Sure.
But yeah, Moss has definitely raised the bar significantly.
Even if you don't like the gameplay, let's just table the gameplay, just visually alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really any excuses anymore for PlayStation 1 level graphics.
No, probably not.
Merkles.
Probably not. We were. I was, you know, and here I was, just gonna. I'm like, it's time to stop with the cell shaded graphics. You know, it's like we've been using the cell shaded graphics as a crutch, and now it's time to really see what we can do with this thing.
Right. I love cell shaded as a choice. I mean, we talked about it before, at length before, but yeah, as a crutch, because wow, you know what, this is really hard.
Yeah, exactly. So, what do you think? Is it time to rate this sucker?
Yeah, I mean, I could gush about the details on this thing forever. So just a reminder of our rating scale. And 1 is you need to buy this right now. If you have a PlayStation VR, this has got to be in your library. 2 is okay. If it's your kind of game, sure, grab it. If it's on discount or something, you got money burning a hole in your pocket. Yeah, all right, we're not going to judge you. A 3 is no, absolutely not. Do not reward these people. Friends do not let friends buy crap, and we should not be. We need to vote with our dollars and not vote for this game. So 1, 2, or 3. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's pretty clearly a 1.
Yeah.
But it's a 1 that needs one extra push to it.
Okay.
Ones in our rating scale are games that are supposed to appeal to everybody. You know, it's like, say, you know, like here's Skyrim. Here's an open world game that's an RPG that you know, it's just filled to the brim with fantasy, and it's like these are all keywords that like don't really appeal to every gamer out there.
Sure.
But it's a fantastic game, and regardless of whether the fact that you're into all of those things or not, it deserves a chance. You should look at it, and you should try it. Now, with Moss, this is a game that's even harder to sell. This is because of this type of gameplay that it involves, because of the type of because of the levels, the way they're laid out, because of the main character, because of the story. Like all of these things sound like they don't appeal to most gamers, and I don't think that they really do. I think that, in fact, if this was a 2D game, I'd be like, that's an interesting little cute kids game that just happened by on the PlayStation Store. But VR makes everything better. And VR makes you part of this world, and VR gives you the opportunity to be inside of it. Yeah. It's all of these things that you are saying to yourself right now, saying, I don't like games that are like this, are all the reasons why you should play this game to prove yourself wrong. Do yourself a favor, go download the demo disc off the PlayStation Store, demo disc volume 2 or whatever they're calling it, and go play the demo. And I'd be really surprised if most of you guys didn't have a change of heart about it.
Well, I'd even say this: the demo, there are a couple main like set pieces they pulled out from the main game for the demo, and I don't think those particular set pieces really capture the full flavor.
They don't
of what's so. I wouldn't totally judge it on the demo, because I remember when the demo came out and I was so excited for Moss, like, oh, this is cool, but okay, but the first time, like when you're kind of like walking into the town, for instance, that was just like, oh, this is different. Yeah. I'm going to give this a 1 clearly. I'm going to echo what Brian said. If you are skeptical, I understand your skepticism. Just put it aside for a second and give this a try. For me, I think this game is going to be up there for me with Invisible Hours, and maybe, yeah, well, I'll say Invisible Hours for now, because what it's doing for the medium, yes, maybe there's some problems with the actual gameplay itself. It's maybe not particularly the most challenging game you'll ever play, but what's shown us, like, it's shown us a new way that VR can be immersive. Everyone says, okay, well, I'm in first person. Hey, it feels like I'm really there. This is a totally new way of approaching being immersive in VR, and I think they knocked it out of the park. Honestly, for me, this is going to be up there with Job Simulator as the game I use to introduce people to VR.
Yeah.
As long as they have a bit of familiarity with this kind of moving a character around, it's just so beautiful. It's going to make converts. I really think so.
Yeah, which is surprising. I was definitely until today.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I get it. I mean, Moss is cool, and Moss is a beautiful game. But I was like, I wonder why everyone's latching on to this game so much.
Yeah.
And so if you've seen me on the Gamescast saying that this is a great game, well, it wasn't till today that I understood why people are falling in love with it.
Yeah.
And it's just there's an emotional level here. There's just a. Sorry, I'm looking at something on my floor, and I'm like, what the hell is that over there? It's a fantastic game. I got nothing else to say. You should really try it. And again, we need to stop looking at games based on their length and saying, hey, this is only a 3-hour game.
Yeah.
Because A, there's more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
And B, what a great 3 hours it is.
Yeah, I mean, would I have loved 50 hours? Yeah, absolutely. But
before we call this quits, should we talk about the very end where we don't know what's next?
Oh yeah, so interestingly enough,
we can't. This isn't a spoiler at all.
Yeah, no, we won't talk about. I will say the final boss battle is amazing. Again, this one I definitely don't want to spoil, but it uses a whole sense of scale that you really feel like you were under threat, or that Quill is under threat, and the pace of the game changes drastically. I'm not going to spoil it much more than that.
Okay.
But once you finish that final boss battle, it ends and basically says, and this is the end of book 1.
Right.
And being that they used the book and reading as the whole narrative for this, I don't know, is book 2 another as a sequel? Is going to be DLC?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I really wish that Polyarc was a little more transparent about this, because if book 2 is DLC,
yeah.
If book 2 is free DLC, if book 2 is paid DLC, but I mean, this is something they need to convey, or maybe this was something where they were like, we need to see how this sells to figure out what book 2 is.
Yeah.
So
it could be. We've seen this kind of pattern before in VR games where this is the first of many, and then
it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Literally the worst thing ever.
So I hope to. I mean, with the success of it so far, I mean, honestly, they had their swag on Amazon.
Yeah.
You could buy the T-shirts, which you guys know how cheap I am. The day after I played this, I went and bought the T-shirt myself with my own money. Polyarc did not give me any swag for this. This is how much I love this game. But almost all of their, within I think 3 days, all of their stuff, the mugs, the posters, the pins, and the shirts that were on Amazon were all sold out. So this it might be a success.
Yeah, it sold really well.
Yeah,
from everything we've heard.
Yeah.
Nice. Do yourself a favor, go and check out Moss. In the comments below, let us know what you thought of Moss if you played it. Why is it this VR system seller that people are calling it? Is it did you not like it as much as we did?
Yeah, here's the question, and I want to hear, there are plenty of you who, even kind of chimed in my stream, said, oh, I'm not going to play this is junk, or blah, 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 who haven't actually played it. If you played it and you don't like it, I really want to hear. I really want to hear why. Because maybe I've got rose-colored glasses on because I'm so blown away by the beauty and detail. Maybe there's some gaping flaws that I'm missing. But if you haven't played it, play it first, then check back with me. But if you have and you don't like it, I really want to hear.
And if there's other games that you want us to check out on the show, make sure you put those down below as well. We've definitely got a few in the works.
Yes.
But we always use a few more. All right, that pretty much does it, right?
I think so.
All right, for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR, my name is Brian Paul.
I'm Desra.
And we'll see you next week.